Hello, everyone. It's another day of opportunity, and welcome back to Your News Biz, the show where we talk about building healthy digital media businesses and, honestly, healthier digital lives. I'm James Briner, and my goal is the same as always, to help digital media entrepreneurs and small businesses find viable, sustainable business models without losing our collective sanity along the way. Now, one of the questions people ask me most is, James, how do I get more clients using digital marketing and social media? And my answer usually surprises people because it's really not about tricks or hacks or algorithms. It's about building trust, authentic human trust. Social media can help you amplify that trust, but it can't replace the real thing. And speaking of social media and trust, I want to revisit something I wrote 5 years ago that feels just as relevant, maybe more relevant today. It's about the disappearing group of people who are moderate in the middle. It's heartbreaking to see people I know, people I love, tearing each other apart online. It feels like there are only two extreme positions on every issue now, right? You're either with us or against us, 100%, or you're ignorant, immoral, even dangerous. But here's the thing we forget. The middle hasn't disappeared at all. It's just been shoved out of view by platforms that profit from conflict. And we actually know the middle is there still. A 2023 Hidden Tribes study, and this is one I love citing, roughly 2/3 of Americans fall into what they call the exhausted majority. These are people who aren't extreme, aren't screaming, and aren't trying to own the extremes. That's 2/3, but you'd never guess it based on your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed. And Gallup consistently finds that around 40% of Americans identify as politically moderate, a number that has barely budged in 30 years. So the middle still exists. It's just that the middle doesn't become a trending topic on any of the social media. Sometimes I think social media turns us into our absolute worst selves. It's like being boxed inside your car with the windows rolled up. You see another driver do something you don't like, and suddenly, boom, the horn, the yelling, and even the finger. You would never behave that way face to face. But online, everyone becomes the other. And the platforms, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, X, they're not just noticing this behavior. They're engineering for it. Their algorithms push content that triggers our emotions. Rage keeps us there longer. A study from MIT found that false or emotional stories spread up to 6 times faster than calm, factual ones. 6 times. Not because we're bad people, but because the system rewards spectacle. And that spectacle makes it look like America is full of extremists, when really most of us are just trying to get through the day. So you're faced with false choices. If you're this, you can't also be that. A friend of mine once crystallized this for me when he said, supporting peaceful protest doesn't mean you support looting and rioters. Supporting reform doesn't mean you hate the police. Supporting the police doesn't mean you reject the idea of equality. But online, nuance is treated like a moral failure. There's no room for, I see both sides. That's not dramatic enough. And yet again, the data says most people do see both sides. Pew Research has reported for years that majorities of Americans hold mixed liberal and conservative views, depending on the issue. Most of us are not ideologues. We're situational thinkers. I always come back to that 2020 Wall Street Journal NBC News poll about Confederate monuments. Remember that? Social media looked like there were only two positions. Either destroy these monuments or keep them exactly as they are. But when you looked at the poll numbers, only 10% wanted total destruction. Only 16% wanted everything untouched. Meanwhile, 72%, that's almost 3/4, supported more moderate actions, moving them, possibly contextualizing the information that's on the monument, or otherwise adapting the history rather than erasing or ignoring it. This is the America we actually live in. Reasonable, imperfect, but trying. Cable news is the other polarization machine. Fox News skews to the right, CNN and MSNBC skew to the left. Everybody knows this. And because they all run on the same business model, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and mainly advertising based, they all need to keep your attention to sell advertising. What does that mean? It means violence and outrage get the airtime because they generate fear and anger, and that makes us watch longer. It also means that cable news tends to present politics as a constant binary war, either one or the other, like the country is split evenly between two armies of die-hard loyalists. But again, the data doesn't support that. Even in intensely polarized years, like 2020 and 2024, which were election years, surveys show something fascinating. More Americans identify as independents than as Democrats or Republicans. Consistently, year after year, the majority isn't extreme. The majority is tired. But there are lots of apolitical profiteers out there. These are the clickbait farms, the fake news factories, the outrage merchants. They don't care about ideology at all. All they care about is page views. Sensationalism sells, it always has, and now it sells at a global scale. Back in 2020, when I originally wrote these thoughts, we were in the middle of a pandemic, an economic crisis, and a period of real suffering. And what did we do? We screamed at each other online. Now here we are again in 2025, and if anything, the volume has gone up, which is exactly why we need the opposite: solidarity, dialogue, and a belief that compromise isn't a dirty word. Because if you strip away the rhetoric, Americans share far more in common than we're led to believe. A simple prescription, I say it's simple, but probably it isn't really. Listen, then listen some more. It's not revolutionary, but it works. Talk to someone who disagrees with you, but don't try to convert them. Don't try to win an argument. Don't load your evidence cannons. Just ask them what they think and why. And then listen, really listen. And when you think you've listened enough, listen a little bit more, because eventually, maybe not right away, maybe not this time, but eventually one of these people will ask you, well, what do you think? And then suddenly, instead of a shouting match, you've got a conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Your News Biz. If you find this episode helpful, share it with someone. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you'd like me to cover or people you'd like me to interview, please send me a note to jamesbriner@gmail.com. I'll include my address in the show notes along with some links to some of the topics I've talked about. And until next time, don't forget, it's another day of opportunity. Be well and be kind to others out there.